questions. So could you please tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you were born, where you went to school, and what you studied, and then I guess how that resulted in where you are today?
How long do you have? I'm kidding. I was born in Memphis, Tennessee. I graduated with a degree in journalism from the University of Memphis. What was next?
It was where or how has that resulted in where you are today?
Oh, okay. At first, I thought I wanted to go into newspapers, so I majored in journalism and discovered there weren't that many newspaper jobs, and started doing work for a cafeteria chain, doing their newsletter that went to employees who couldn't, well, the majority of them couldn't read or write. So lots of pictures. I had applied for civil service or taken the exam during college and ended up going to Montgomery, Alabama, where I worked with Army recruiting, and from there went to San Antonio, where I started the newspaper at what was Brooks Air Force Base. It doesn't sadly exist anymore. Went from there back into the private sector and was in charge of media relations for the Chamber of Commerce. Moved into the Dallas area, worked as community relations director at a local hospital, then moved on to become the national PR director for the American College of Emergency Physicians. Then for 19 years, I ran my own business, and then decided to go back into the real world, and worked for some federal grants that are dedicated to children's mental health for the last 14 years. And the last grant ended on September 30th. So I am semi-retired, back to contracting and freelancing.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's why I said, how much time do you have?
Wow, it sounds like you've kind of done a lot of things and, traveled different, Tennessee, San Antonio, back to Dallas, and it's just, yeah. Awesome. That's awesome. So
I would say my specialties tend to be association and nonprofit, and a lot about mental health.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool. So could you discuss what led you or compelled you to become a member of PRSA?
Say that one more time.
Could you discuss what led you or what compelled you to become a member of PRSA?
Sure. When I was in San Antonio, the most active organization for communicators was the International Association of Business Communicators, IABC. When I moved up here, there was an IABC chapter and a PRSA chapter, but I found that the people who could teach me the most were in PRSA. And so I changed over to that and was a member of the Dallas chapter for several years.
Okay. Yeah.
So I became president of that chapter in 1986.
Awesome. So cool. What was it like in 1986?
What was it like in 86?
Yeah. Like in the I don't know, what was it like back
then? The greater Dallas chapter included Fort Worth at that point. The result was we had a very robust chapter, but a whole bunch of people who could have contributed to PRSA and to public relations. But, it was like taking the whole day just to come to a lunch meeting. So a few years prior to that, there had been an initial effort to get a public relations society started in Fort Worth. I'm not sure, I don't have the history as to why that didn't happen, but as president, that was one of my goals, was to start the Fort Worth chapter. And while I'll take full credit for it because it's fun, no, the real credit goes to Sammy Roop, who was at that point a young public relations professional in Fort Worth, who had the energy and the organizational skills, and she really was the one that got it off the ground. So I love the fact that I was a part of it. And I love the fact that back in 2004 or 5, I ended up joining the Fort Worth chapter instead of Dallas. But that's how it got started.
That's so cool. It's cool that you have, I don't know, you're able to see be a part of something like that, and I don't know, be around during that, aspect of PRSA, like before it was abortive.
Right. And it was necessary. I mean, I don't know how many people we have in Fort Worth, and I will say that a lot of the people who helped it get up and going were people who had been active in the Dallas chapter, like Dr. Douglas Newsom from TCU. So Bill Lawrence was very active in getting it started, and they have both been very active in the Greater Dallas chapter as well. It's actually called, I'm sorry, it's called the North Texas chapter.
Okay. Yeah.
So at that point, we ended up kind of splitting the colleges that we sponsored so that we could do a better job in Dallas with some of them, while Fort Worth could do a better job on their end of the turnpike. And that's how it all got started. But there was a core group who I think you'll probably see the founding members, and they're the ones who got it off the ground and going, used those organizational skills and really made it happen.
So what have you gained personally and professionally from your time in the organization?
From what now? From PRSA?
What have you gained personally and professionally from your time spent in the organization?
Okay. There's so much, it's very hard to say. I will give you an example. I was asked to go to one of my very first clients when I was out on my own, asked me to go to different communities and kind of get a feel for the health insurance industry that was going on there. They represented one of the health insurance agencies or companies. I was able to pick up the phone, and looking at the directory, I could call people across the country and say, hello, I'm a fellow APR. I'm looking for this. Can you tell me who I should contact, or can I talk to you? And not one person said no. So that's an example of the networking that was there. It was also a tremendous learning experience. When I decided to become accredited, I learned, since I'd majored in journalism, I didn't really have the theory behind what I was doing. I learned that I was doing a lot of the right things, but I didn't really know why. It was just kind of gut ability, instinct to do the right things. But once I went through the accreditation process, it really helped me to become much more effective. So there's the networking, there's the learning, there's the chance to rub elbows with some of the top PR people in the world. And that has meant a great deal to me. So I like that as well. So I would say learning and networking, and also, again, instinctually, I had a ethical concept, and the code of ethics for PRSA has given me a lot of backing and balance to continue and make sure that the work I do is ethical, but also point out to others when their work isn't.
That's awesome.
What have I left out? Is there anything that I should have said, you think?
No, you said so many things.
I know. It's been it's been very worthwhile for me. And now that I'm in the College of Fellows, it's even cooler, because I don't know how I got there. I mean, when I say some of the top people, there are people in that organization who are amazing. But do you know who Dr. Newsom is? Did you ever? She was.
Yes.
Okay. Just knowing her.
Yeah.
I never would have known her without my membership in PRSA. And she was a mentor. And that's the other thing, is the mentoring that both ways. I've received mentoring, and I've had a chance to share what I've learned over the years. And both of those have been actually helpful.
That's awesome. Could you describe a particular moment or memory of your time with PRSA that has deeply impacted your career or has had a positive impact on your membership in the organization?
That's a good question. I need to think about that. There are just lots of little moments over the course of time. I do know I have found jobs through the job bank over the years that have changed the trajectory of my career. I think maybe the thing that has meant the most to me is being elected to the College of Fellows, because there are only about 350, 400 of us. And it's kind of like the pinnacle of your career, because it means that you have achieved not just professionally, but also on a volunteer level, working as a mentor. There's just several areas that they look at. And I'd say that might be the best, the most memorable. But I also think I learned a lot as president of the chapter back in '86. Working for an association, it helped me to understand that we as staff in an association were really lucky if the members put us as number 3 or 4 in their lives. Typically, it could run way down the level of importance in their lives. So most of them, it was family, it was faith, it was work. If we got in there after that, we were lucky. And those are the ones that really dedicated themselves. But we as staff members had to realize that that work one was us. So while we felt they should be more dedicated, we had to be a lot more cognizant of how it really worked. So it was kind of a mutual understanding, both of working for an association and volunteering for one.
Awesome. That's great. If you could describe your time with the Fort Worth PRSA in one word, what would it be and why?
I kind of want to say friendships, but I'm also thinking camaraderie. I know those are a little bit different, but I have met people in the Fort Worth community, the public relations community, who have become friends, but who have also become kind of supporters, got their hand on my back, people I can turn to for help. I've also come to know people who turn to me for help, which is really cool when you can help somebody. So I think maybe to me, at the point in my career that I became a part of the Fort Worth PRSA, that might have been the greatest benefit. Because by then I already had been accredited. I'd been the chapter president. So there were many things I'd already done. But I also think there have been times that it did help me get clients, for example, when I was doing my own thing. I, at this point, am not trying to put together a full-time thing, but I've been able to talk to members of the chapter to see if they need help and support, and to kind of subcontract for them. So it's always about the people. And being in public relations, it's always about the relationships. And that's what I've been able to, I think that's probably the most important thing from Fort Worth PRSA, is the relationships I've developed.
That's really great. With the 35th anniversary of the organization coming up, how would you want Fort Worth PRSA chapter to be remembered moving forward?
I've got a lot of things going through my head. I probably should have asked for the questions ahead of time so I could think them through. But I would like to see it remembered as a leader in the community of, this doesn't sound right, but educating the public about what public relations is and should be, and leading the charge on ethics. Not great, but
oh no, that's awesome. I think it's great. Well, do you have any questions? She did a great job in providing us a lot of. You gave us so much information. You really elaborated on things, so that's awesome. We have so much to talk about, and it's really good for our
PRSA. There's a lot to talk about.
That just shows what a great organization it is.